I took myself to the park this morning and I found this beautiful tree with the flowers blooming in such vibrant colors, and I was like, let's pop down right here and film a YouTube video. And so today I wanted to talk about some ways that I practice self-care, and more specifically ways that I regulate my nervous system. I feel like as an autistic person who also struggles with my mental health pretty frequently, that it often feels like my nervous system is dysregulated, like almost all the time. And if I don't make an intentional effort to at least like do the practices that I know help me, or the things that help regulate my nervous system, even if it is just a little bit, if I don't do those things, if I don't make an intentional effort to do those things, that's what leads me to feeling worse than I already do sometimes. That's what leads me to eventually like burning out, or feeling so overstimulated and so overwhelmed that like I'm unable to function in my day-to-day life. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate. And these aren't any like autism or neurodivergent specific ways to regulate our nervous systems. And I think that these are things that can apply to, or that can apply to like every person that's out there. And so I'll just go ahead and get started with number one, and that's finding the time to, or I guess like making the time and making it an intention to disconnect from social media, to disconnect from the news media. We're not supposed to be having access to all those things 24/7 as humans. It's only just in the past decade or so where we have access to all those things. And for the rest of humanity, humans didn't have access to all those things. And I think that with constantly being bombarded with a lot of like negativity, a lot of tragedies, like that takes a huge real toll on our nervous systems, even if we're not directly affected by it. But as someone who cares deeply and who's very empathetic and empathic, I struggle a lot when I like read the news, or when I see like these really bad things happening on social media. And it's also not just like the bad things. It's just like being bombarded with so much information, I find can also overwhelm me, even if it's not necessarily like bad information. And so maybe just for the first 10 minutes after waking up in the morning, making it a practice to not check your phone. Maybe a few minutes before bed, do like a mindfulness practice instead of scrolling on your phone. And noticing those signs of when you do start to get overwhelmed and overstimulated. Like, okay, is what I'm doing right now, is all this scrolling like actually helping me, or is it just perpetuating this problem? And just being aware of that. And I think that this is different depending on everyone's lifestyle. Like for me, I use my phone for my work. I need to go on social media for a lot of my work, and it definitely makes it more challenging, but it's just about like being intentional with the practice, and then finding those times throughout the day, like I said, in the mornings, periodically throughout the day, and then even like before bed. So that's number one. Number two is making sure that we stay hydrated. This isn't necessarily an issue for me, but I know that it is for a lot of people. Like I always bring my water with me, except I don't have it with me right now. I left it in my car, unfortunately, but it can make a huge difference to just like chug some water, especially if we're feeling our energy levels declining, if we're just feeling low. And I think that when we get so busy in our lives, or when we have so much else going on, we forget to drink water and to stay hydrated, and even maybe adding some like electrolytes to the water. Like our bodies are mostly water, right? And we need water to function. And I think it's just a good reminder to stay hydrated, and drink our water. And if that's something that you struggle with or that you forget to do, setting reminders on your phone. There's also water jugs that have like the time of day, and you got to drink a certain level based on that time of day. There's probably even like apps out there that help remind you also. So also making that a priority is really helpful. Number 3, and this is what I'm doing today, because I was feeling a little bit dysregulated this morning, is getting some sunshine, touching the earth, putting your feet on the earth or your hands on the earth, sitting on the grass, maybe touching a tree or touching a rock, especially when we get caught up in our lives of working and just being so busy with everything else that we have going on. I think that we forget, like, we're animals too, and we're not necessarily supposed to be living in our boxes that we call homes or offices all the time, and we are creatures of this earth too, and just connecting with it is really helpful. And I believe that the earth is a living being that has so much to offer, and there's just something about like being in nature. I always talk about it, but just being in nature is one of the most calming things for me. Like, just listen. I hear chickens in the distance. I hear birds chirping in the tree above me. And for me, it's hard to have a limited, small-minded, anxious perspective when I'm surrounded by the vastness of nature. That's just a fact for me, and if it helps you too, then making sure that you find the time to get outside. Doesn't have to be every day. I know that we're busy. Maybe like once a week. Setting aside 10 or 15 minutes to just go connect with the earth and the natural elements can be really helpful for you. The next thing, number 4 on my list, is practicing inversions, where for me, my favorite type of inversion is laying on the floor with my legs elevated. So either like up against a wall or just like on my bed or the couch, where my legs and feet are up here and my body is laying down here. That's a really helpful practice that like directly targets the nervous system, and it can just kind of like cue your body that it's okay to breathe, everything's okay, and it can really help calm us down in those moments where it feels like not much else is helping. And the best thing about this practice is there's not much you have to do with it. You could pretty much do it anywhere, I guess, and it's always available to us. Number 5 is practicing taking deep breaths. I think this is a common one that we hear a lot, but like, how do we actually breathe deeply? I find that when I am in an anxious state, initiating that deep breath can be really hard. One thing that's helped me is by exhaling first, so and then inhaling through my nose, as opposed to just trying to catch my breath and breathing in first. That's something that really helps me, and just taking a few intentional deep breaths throughout the day. Yes, we breathe without thinking about it, but when was the last time we breathed with intention? Chances are, for a lot of us, and I'll include myself in this, it's been a while since I've done that. And so I'm just going to take a few deep breaths right here. And it just brings like sort of a sense of peace and relief. So that always feels good. Number 6 is to watch your favorite movie, watch your favorite YouTube, watch your favorite TV show. I think that sometimes it is okay for us to kind of distract ourselves a little bit, especially when we get in those like really anxious spirals that we can't really like think our way out of. And by doing something as simple as watching TV or a movie or YouTube, it can redirect our attention. And then in turn, I find that it helps me kind of like separate myself from the anxiety. And it helps to like give space between the anxious thought and my bodily reaction to that thought, if that makes sense. And so yeah, that's something that's really helpful for me too. Number 7 is listen to music. Music has this really powerful way of affecting our mood. If I'm like feeling really dysregulated, I like to put on some piano music or some like flute music. And I'll even do that while like in an inversion with like my legs up the wall, or while meditating and taking some deep breaths. But yeah, just turning on music. Number 8 is using a weighted blanket or a weighted plushie. I'm personally a huge proprioceptive sensory seeker, which means that anything weighted, anything like pushing hard on me or me pushing hard on like the hard floor or something, it feels really good and it feels really grounding for me. So just like laying under the weighted blanket, and you can use this also in that inverted state with your feet up the wall. Or like a weighted plushie. I love my Hugimals. Sometimes I'll just like put that on my chest and feel the weight of it. And the weight is really, really, really calming. It helps me feel like, I guess, more safe in my body when I start to feel really uncomfortable. Number 9 is cuddling your pet, your dog or your cat. Our dog Tucker, he is the absolute best, and he's always there to give his love, always, whenever we need it. And it's really a blessing, and that's something that really helps me too. And if that's available for you in your life, that's another thing that you can try. Number 10 is movement. Daily movement is like pretty much a non-negotiable for me. I need to move my body at least once a day, if not more. I get this like really pent up energy, and it's really important for me to be able to like release that. And just moving your body kind of just changes your physiology, moves some blood around, and for me, I find again it kind of helps like separate my anxiety from like my thought spirals, where I can like almost like see the anxiety from a more neutral or from a more like expanded perspective. And it's very, very, very helpful for me. So maybe it's helpful for you too. Number 11, this is a mindfulness practice where you take note of what you see, hear, smell, feel, even like taste around you. I like to do this when I'm outside in nature. So I can start by like focusing on what I hear. Okay, I hear a truck going by. I hear a bird in the tree up there. I hear more birds over there. I hear my voice talking. I hear something like rustling through the leaves over there. I heard a bird over there. What do I see? I see the grass out in front of me. I see lots of plants. I see lots of trees, lots of flowers. I see a mailbox over there, a street sign over there. I see my blanket, my phone. I see a car passing by. What do I feel? I feel the warmth of the sun on my body. It feels amazing. I'm so grateful that it's finally getting warmer out. I feel the blanket underneath me, and I feel the earth underneath that. I feel a slight breeze blowing across my face. What do I taste? I taste the toothpaste that I used about 30 minutes ago. Other than that, not much else. So this is just like a mindfulness practice to kind of help you become in tune with your senses and to just like be aware of where you are right now in this moment. And this is another thing that kind of helps to separate yourself from that anxiety just a little bit, and to kind of expand your perspective and to realize that, okay, right now I'm okay. Right now I'm okay. Number 12, this one has been really helpful for me in the past, especially when I had a harder time like practicing daily mindfulness, and that's to do like a brain dump journal where you just like grab a piece of paper, you've got a pen, and you just write. You write whatever. Who cares about grammar? Who cares about spelling? Who cares about your handwriting? And you just write anything that's on your mind. You let it out. I think a lot of times we let these things like fester in our minds, and it makes a bigger problem than what actually exists. And so being able to release that in a way that is just allowing you to dump it out, to get it out of here, can also be really helpful. Number 13 is to create something beautiful. Sometimes channeling whatever those emotions are that we're feeling inside into something physical, or into something that would be classified as like art, is really helpful too, especially if we have like a hard time putting words to it or describing it in words. Maybe it's just like painting or building something, drawing something. Number 14 is talking with someone. Even for me, someone who is not necessarily like super social and I'm very introverted, it can be helpful to talk to someone, especially like a therapist or someone that you trust and love, because sometimes they can also offer a different perspective, and they can help like sort of be like a mirror for you to kind of like reflect and to realize like what's actually going on here. And then number 15 is to get clean, like take a shower or a bath. If I'm like feeling like really cooped up, or if I'm just having a hard time, sometimes just like getting clean and sort of like using it as an intentional practice, like imagining the water like cleansing all of this, like this anxiety, this negative energy. I always feel better after that, even if it's just a little bit. I feel like it kind of like changes my state just a little bit, and it gives me just like a little extra boost. So that's what I have on my list. There's certainly so many other things that you can do to regulate and to practice self-care as like an anxious person. And so if you have any things that help you that I didn't list, and if you'd like to add to this list, I would love if you could share it in the comments below.